What's up, folks? How's it going? This is Michael. I'm back in the wee hours of the night. I'm on these 12-hour shifts, so I'm working like, I don't even know how many days on, and then I have a certain amount of days off. But anywho, I'm back, like I said, on the graveyard shifts where the coffee pot is always on. And if we run out, we'll make more. I hope your week is going well. We are almost done with this week, so we'll just keep on going. So the answer to the previous trivia question, if you remember, way back when, I don't even remember what it was, last week sometime, was the very first 911 call. Now, believe it or not, there was a time for you kids out there, for you youngsters, there was a time when an emergency call number system, calling 911 in other words, did not exist. If you can believe that, in order to receive any type of emergency service or assistance, people had to make a direct call. And this was after having to often sift through a phone book. I remember my grandmother doing this very well to find whatever service you needed, be it police, fire, ambulance. You had to find the actual 7-digit number to the office. Okay, that's a very true thing. Most ambulances also were dispatched straight from the hospitals back in the day, as I like to say, and any emergency service took forever to respond. It was very, very lengthy, right? This was pre-everything. This was pre-smartphones, pre-GPS systems, pre-communication systems on a broad range for like counties and towns and so forth. None of this existed back in the 60s, right? People could also, if they wanted to, dial 0, like back in Mayberry, right? You pick up the phone, you dial the operator, you pound on the thing a couple times, and the operator comes on. So you could dial 0, and people often did. However, this also proved very lengthy and ineffective, to say the least, as far as getting, services, emergency services right then and there, getting something done right away. So then, to combine all of this criteria, check all these boxes. In 1964, a woman named Catherine Genovese was stabbed multiple times in Queens, New York, in the stairwell of her apartment. It's a very, very unfortunate homicide that occurred. It was later determined, check this out, that an incredible 38 people in the apartment complex had heard her screaming for help, yet no one apparently called for emergency services. Or, as the investigation unfolded, those few who did try to call were unable to reach police or get no response. So it was a very unfortunate circumstance. The outcry from this was very intense, and it went down in history and has been documented that the country was basically, quote unquote, shamed into doing something, and rightly so, quite frankly. The system, or the lack thereof, if you will, the old way of doing things simply needed to change. And that was kind of the breaking point when they started looking at that incident in particular and all the other variables that were associated with this. Okay? So the National Association of Fire Chiefs, an interesting factoid that surfaced in my research, had actually recommended a universal emergency number for reporting fires going all the way back to 1957. And I also found in my research that there were emergency call numbers in place in little pot shots of the country, right? But none of this had really caught on. I think somewhere out in California had a 3-digit emergency call system that was short-lived, didn't catch on. Okay, so in light of the tragic death of Miss Genovese, a presidential commission in the 60s finally got behind the concept of a universal number for all emergency situations. Okay, we were taking some action. We were finally taking some action. As it turned out, the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, would team up with the AT&T company, phone company, and would find a means of establishing a universal emergency number that could be implemented quickly, that could be dialed quickly, where results would be timely. 911, in other words, was born. Now, the number 911, there's a reason behind everything, and the 911 is no exception. The number 911 was chosen for two reasons. One, it was easy to remember. It was quick to call. You could dial it fast, even on the rotary phones. Again, you kids don't even know what a rotary phone is. Go look it up. And two, the 911 combination had not been used as an area code or a service code or a local exchange. Okay, so 911 was still available as far as those codes being used, right? So those were two primary reasons that 911 was chosen. And of course, today it's a standard, it's a staple. We've grown up with. We know you need emergency services. You dial 911. That's all there is to it, and you're patched straight through just about instantly. The nation's first 911 emergency call was placed, as it were, by an Alabama state politician named Senator Rankin Fite. And this was just to test the system out, as after it had been installed in the small town of Haleyville, Alabama. They take the credit and the limelight for doing that. And that, of course, was the focus of the trivia questions, where the first 911 system was installed and the first 911 call was ever made. This Haleyville 911 system is still in operation today, of course, as you can imagine. And of March of 2022, 98.9% of the U.S. population has access to 911 services. I was actually surprised by that. I thought it would be 100%. I don't know what that less than 2%. I don't know where those places are. I could not find where those places were in my research, but apparently there's some people out there who still don't have access to 911 services. We are also seeing, I found in my research, the emergence of 911 texting service becoming available in certain regions. And that to me is not surprising. That's probably well overdue, and that'll probably be commonplace as time goes on. Now, I'm interested to know if you are, and of course, 911 dispatch offices are more intricate. They have tapped into all kinds of communications. They work, I believe, 911 dispatchers work long shifts. I've had many jobs where have been inside of 911 control operations before, and they are very, very intricate. They have a very complex and versatile communication system involved in contacting any emergency service that you may need and helping anybody out who calls. So I'm interested in knowing if you're old enough to remember not having 911. I can remember my grandmother keeping all of those numbers like I referenced before on her Rolodex. She had written them all down, the 7-digit numbers for the fire, for the police, for the ambulance. She had written all that down on her phone. I remember seeing that on her next to her phone many, many times growing up. Of course, I was from the 70s, so 911 was kind of well established by the time I came around. And I can remember if you needed an emergency, the 911 was the number to call for sure. All right, folks, off we go. Grab your favorite cup of whatever, maybe 2 cups. Put your both feet on the ground. Let's get the day started. Let's try and wrap up this week. But before we do get to Friday, we got to get through Thursday for February 23rd. Here's your brand new trivia question. Check this out. On this day, in 1954, a group of children from Arsenal Elementary School in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, receives the first injections of this vaccine, funded in part from proceeds from the March of Dimes. And that's all the clues I'm going to give you, folks. Good luck. You got this. Come on, think. Think of the year. You guys have a great Thursday. Thanks for all you do. I'll see you tomorrow night. I'm here all week. For the rest of the week, peace out.